So why are you making this film?
It does feel like a piece of closure. It feels like a way to make a conversation happen that isn't possible to happen. But yeah, it feels like a piece of art I can make, and like making something physical out of our relationship, because there is not a lot left. Like, there is no way for me to communicate with him now, and like no way for realistically me to know what our relationship would be now. But like, I want him to see how I'm doing, and to be a part of how I'm doing, because he is a part of how I am. Letter number 3 or something, or 4, I don't know, maybe 3, recording for the film. Dear W. W. Yeah, I can start with W. It used to be in Stollery's, the store he had. It was like him and his ex-wife, like on the landlines. It was like written Mr. and Mrs. W. For their last name was Whaley. When I was a kid, it was like I didn't call my grandma also like Grammy. So I didn't like those kinds of like usual names like that. We were like workshopping them with me as a baby, and I landed on W. And so then I started calling him W, and then like I don't know if I forced everyone to, but everyone else started calling him that. And like to this day, in all the like legal documents, they have to specify who that is, because everyone calls him that.
He asked me, am I talking too much? And I said, that's a hard question for me to answer. And then I thought to myself, a guy like Whaley won't shut up anyways, whatever I talk.
What you see is what you get.
Well, like I said, I'm just here
I'm
to
just a poor country boy.
Me too.
My family were farmers. Okay? Went through the Depression. But not wealthy. Okay?
Do you have any spare change for Ed Whaley? Feel free to-
Listen, if you worked as many hours and as many nights all night, I poured concrete, okay, with my dress shoes on and pants.
How do you feel walking by Wellesley?
It used to be such a like fantastical like world for me, and it was such a like the like Stollery's and Wellesley was like, yeah, but his store used to be at Bloor and Young and 1 Bloor West, and it felt like I would go and I'd like get candy, and I'd be like on top of the world there, and it always smelled so good, like clothing and like suits, and it was like right on Bloor and Young, and we'd have to like go across, and we'd all hold hands and go in, and it was like it was just like a kind of a space that I had an in, and he used to know other people. Like, he was known. He was sometimes on the same scale as like Ed's, like Honest Ed's and Ed Mervish. They all knew each other because they were the Eds of Bloor, and there's like not much left of pieces that he was a part of or knew, and his store's obviously completely gone. It's been for years now, but there's not much like left, and it just kind of feels like there should be something left.
Ryder and I were always friends, okay? When her mother would give her a hard time, and she'd go to bed, and I'd go upstairs and I hear her crying.
It's okay, take your time.
I'd go
I'll
in
never
and talk to her and say, look, Riley, it's okay. And I can remember one night where she was crying. And she sat up in her bed and she says, here's Mommy here, here's Grandma here, and here's Great Grandma here. Why don't we send them back on? I'll stay here with you. Sorry.
It's okay.
Anyway, they seem to be getting along. She still chastises her for the silliest, unbelievable things that you wouldn't do to a young child. But they seem to be getting along, okay?
I can tell you're very upset, and I sympathize. You obviously care quite a bit about Riley.
Well, she's a good young girl.
Would you say you love her?
Yeah, I love her kid.
Okay.
Any kid doesn't deserve that kind of thing.
I didn't know you knew how she treated me. I didn't know it upset you so much, and that you helped me through even some of it makes me feel better to know I wasn't completely alone. I spent so much time in therapy trying to be able to talk about or picture my younger self because she was so alone dealing with so much. He just, completely acknowledged how horrible my mom would be to me. That it wasn't fair. And that you don't treat any kid like that, no matter how much. Which I didn't even know he knew any of it. I thought it happened after. I thought it started happening more after. I didn't know he knew. I didn't know he knew that it was going on, or that it... That's a whole nother level of acknowledgement of someone who saw it firsthand, that my dad knew that it was bad. That's so much. Sorry. I didn't see you for over a year until we got a call that you were gone. And it was just from someone who read it in the newspaper and was apologizing to us. So we had the first stroke, we would visit him, and that was a lot easier and more normal because it was less of a bigger deal. But then when he got his second stroke, it was more he couldn't talk properly. He tried his best, but he really couldn't talk, and he had to use a paper to it. That was very heavy, was seeing him in the hospital for the first time after that one. It was a lot, both of us seeing each other. But he started crying. I had a jersey that had my name on it, but it was Morgan Riley, who used to play on the Leafs. And he thought I had my name written on it, and he didn't, he couldn't handle that, so he started crying. And then I got dragged out of the room and told that I couldn't cry because it's too much for him. But it's how are you not supposed to cry when you see him like that? It's just But yeah, the fly, it'd be just multiple situations of that where it would have made sense for him to be there. I got my license and drove for a friend's film all the way to Hamilton the next day, and I was scared about it because it's a far drive and the car was very unreliable. But there was a fly in the car as soon as locked in the car in the garage when it had been there for days in the garage. And just so happened as I'm driving, there's a fly in the car, and that's just how would it get there if it's not just it's a fly, but it's just kind of a little piece of someone's watching you, or you're there for me, or it's comforting. And there's different times where it's there. And 2 years ago it was your birthday, and I was sobbing in a room, and I went to the bathroom to wipe my tears, and I heard a bunch of birds outside, and I looked outside, and there was 60 of them all in a circle, just flying around in a circle. And I was that's a lot of birds. and then I'm watching the birds for a while, just standing there crying because there's never that many birds at camp. There's never like that flying in just a circle. And then like kids from my camp would come up, would walk past and just see me standing like sobbing, being like, there's never this many birds. And they're just like, yeah, are you okay? And I'm like, yeah, there's a lot of birds. But just signs and things you see that make you remember. Yeah.